It is spooky season. Starting October 6th, I'm going to be bringing you guys spooky season here on Caffeine and Crime. My favorite content yet. It's gonna get real spooky as I talk about famous haunted places, a wide variety of haunted places, but not really the places themselves, but what happened at those places that make them so spooky.
It shows her as a tragic, lonely old woman.
And did I mention, spooky season is not just for October. Spooky season is going to go into December as well. Season 4 is still going to be a full season, so be prepared for 10 spooky places with 10 full episodes on those places. Every Tuesday, a podcast goes live. I hope you join. Hey guys, welcome back to Caffeine and Crime. If you're new here or you've been here, hi, I'm Allie. I look completely different. It is spooky season and I'm in full swing. If you didn't know though, I am also a content creator in the beauty community and I do a lot of makeup and even special effects and face painting around this time of the year. So if you guys want to check it out, I will link it down below for you. But I am so excited because today we are bringing back spooky season on Caffeine and Crime. It's been taking me a long time to get this all sorted out and to figure out how I want to do this. I wish I never would have stopped YouTube in the beginning and would have just kept on. So yeah, it's kind of just playing catch up here. I'm currently uploading my season 2, which was serial killer season, and that will continue. So if you're enjoying those, I will still be bringing them. They're just going to move to a certain day. They're going to be uploaded, I'm hoping, on Tuesdays. Fingers crossed I can stick to a schedule, but I'm hoping to have those videos going up on Tuesdays and then spooky season going up on Fridays. Now, this spooky season is going to be season 4. Yes, I know, I'm making it confusing, I'm making it harder than it needs to be, but to just simplify it a little bit, season 2 is going to continue uploading on Tuesdays, and spooky season from last year will be up on Fridays here on YouTube. But if that wasn't already enough content for you, I'm also going to be uploading the new spooky season for this year on just podcast platforms. You can most definitely check out season 4 on podcast platforms right now if you would like, but if you would like visuals and you like the YouTube platform a little bit more, then that is why I'm here uploading these. But we're going to go ahead and jump in because these intros are always too long, longer than they need to be. But in today's episode, it is the episode all about the Queen Mary, and this episode right here sparked my passion for spooky season and switching it up, going from true crime to just haunted places in general. It has sparked my interest in ghost hunting and everything paranormal. So I hope you guys enjoy. This is my very first episode ever of spooky season, and also be on the lookout for this year's spooky season. The first episode should already be up and it'll be linked in the description box if you would like to check it out, because it probably won't be on YouTube until next year if I'm being realistic. But I'm going to start trying to make sure I'm linking past recent videos and podcasts down below in the description every single week, so it's a little bit easier on you guys. I hope you enjoy the Queen Mary and stay tuned for some more spooky videos coming very soon.
The RMS Queen Mary has had many lives, so they say. The ship made its maiden voyage in 1936 and carried many Hollywood celebrities: Clark Gable, Elizabeth Taylor, Audrey Hepburn, so many, and then became a troop ship in World War II, and even had a name change during that time. Though it resumed its original role and hosted passengers again for another at least 20 years, now she is a working hotel that is docked, not going anywhere, and is believed to be haunted and very spooky. We're going to take it back a little bit. This is going to be a little bit of a history lesson in a way, too. I know I learned a lot doing these notes, but this is quoted from King George V on the launch of Queen Mary himself. So he said, "Today we come to the happy task of sending on her way the stateliest ship now in being. It has been the nation's will that she should be completed, and today we can send her forth no longer a number on the books, but a ship with a name in the world, alive with beauty, energy, and strength. May her life among great waters spread friendship among the nations." Man, I would just word vomit all over that if I had to give that speech, but kudos to him. The Queen Mary, so her creation and launch was it's been known as extraordinary. From the time of her construction in 1930 in Clydebank, Scotland, she was designed to be great. But then the Great Depression hit and all construction was put to a halt. But it was soon picked back up and carried on for her great launch, maiden voyage. Why is she named the Queen Mary? Well, this part I found not spooky, but hilarious. So, the board of directors at Cunard, which is the people who are creating this boat or this ship, they decided on the name Queen Victoria because all of their past ships ended with an IA2 at the end of the, name. So as per protocol, the director of Cunard went to ask King George for his blessing, and they said, "We have decided to name our new ship after England's greatest queen," and, they're meaning Queen Victoria, and that's actually the king's grandmother, and upon which the king says, "My wife, Queen Mary, will be delighted that you are naming a ship after her." And I just found that so hilarious, the shade. So she was in fact the Queen Mary, and that is what I have found on her name and how she got her name, and it's just hilarious to me. On May 27th, 1936 was the big day. Queen Mary departed from Southampton, England, embarking on her maiden voyage. She had 5 dining areas, lounges, 2 cocktail bars and swimming pools, a grand ballroom, a squash court, and even a small hospital. She had set a new benchmark in transatlantic travel, which the rich and famous considered the only civilized way to travel. And she became so loved by everyone on both sides of the Atlantic. Still is to date. For 3 years after her main voyage of carrying passengers, she not only carried Hollywood celebrities and famous people like that, but also she carried royals. During this time, she even set a new speed record, which she held for 14 years. But when the Queen Mary docked in New York in September of 1939, that would be the last time she would carry regular passengers for many years. This is when World War II started, and the Queen Mary's transformation into a troop ship had begun. Not only was she painted a camouflage gray color and stripped of her luxurious belongings, but she was also given a new name, the Grey Ghost, because of her stark color. The Queen Mary was the largest and fastest troop ship to sail, capable of transporting as many as 16,000 troops. After the end of World War II, the Queen Mary began a 10-month retrofitting process which would return the ship to her original glory, which she deserved. And on July 21st, 1947, the Queen Mary resumed regular passenger service across the Atlantic Ocean and continued to do so for nearly 2 more decades. All good things come to an end, and air travel helped signal the end of the era for the Queen Mary. By 1965, the entire Cunard fleet was operating at a loss, and they decided that it was time to retire and to sell the legendary Queen Mary. On October 31st, yes, Halloween, getting a little spooky, we're going to get spookier in a minute, I promise, of 1967, so Halloween 1967, the Queen Mary departed on her final cruise, arriving in Long Beach, California on December 9th, 1967. She has called Southern California her home ever since. Okay, now we're going to get a little spooky. We're going to ease into it a little. Internationally recognized, her historic floating hotel and museum attracts thousands of visitors every year. It has also attracted a number of unearthly guests over the years as well. In fact, some say the Queen Mary is one of the most haunted places in the world, with as many as 150 known spirits lurking upon the ship. And if the history isn't enough to spook you, this article reads that there's 288 deaths that have been linked to the ship. During World War II, 239 of those deaths were caused by the ship colliding with her escorting vessel. Of the 338 crew members, only 99 of them survived. And over the past 60 years, the Queen Mary has been the site of at least 49 reported deaths, not to mention having gone through the terrors of war. So it's no surprise that there is spirits from her vivid past that are still lurking in the rooms and in the hallways. One of these places, located 50 feet below water level, is the engine room on the Queen Mary. It is said to be a hotbed for paranormal activity. It's actually been used for filming, I believe, as well, all because of the infamous Door 13, which crushed at least 2 men to death at different points during the ship's history. The most recent death during a routine watertight door drill in 1966, it crushed 18-year-old crew member John Petter. He was dressed in blue coveralls and sporting a beard. The young man has often been seen walking the length of the shaft alley before disappearing by door number 13. 2 other popular hotbeds for paranormal activity is the first and second class swimming pools. Though neither are actually used today for like an actual pool, which I think would be really cool. I mean, if they're haunted, can you imagine like swimming in a haunted pool area? I believe from like, because you guys can watch YouTubers, of course, go to all kinds of haunted places, including the Queen Mary, and you can kind of see from some of them that the pools either have just like nasty, like murky water in them or no water at all. But I would love to see them like restore that. That would be so cool. But the pools are not used whatsoever. And in the first class swimming pool, which has been closed for more than 3 decades, women have been seen often appearing in 1930s style swimming suits, wandering the decks near the pool. Others have heard the sound of splashing and have seen wet footprints leading from the deck to the changing rooms. Some have also seen the spirit of a young girl clutching her teddy bear. And in the second class pool room, the spirit of another little girl named Jackie has often been seen and heard. Allegedly, the unfortunate girl drowned in the pool during the ship's sailing days, and she has refused to move on and go into the light, as her voice, as well as the sounds of her laughter, has been captured here. There is an author, a paranormal investigator, Cher Garman. She points out that there is no known drownings that have ever occurred on the Queen Mary, although she says Jackie is definitely there. In the Queen's Salon, which once served as the ship's first-class lounge, a beautiful young woman in an elegant white evening gown has often been seen dancing alone in the shadows of the corner of the room. More odd things have been made in the number of the first-class staterooms. There's been reports of a tall, dark-haired man appearing in a 1930s-style suit, as well as water turning on by itself and running, lights turning on in the middle of the night, phones ringing in the early morning hours with no one on the other end. In the third-class children's playroom, a baby's cry has often been heard, which is thought to be the infant boy who died shortly after his birth on the ship. Senior Second Officer William Eric Stark, who accidentally drank dry cleaning fluid instead of gin, has been seen. The cook, who was baked alive by his own kitchen staff during World War II, has been seen. Other phenomena occurring throughout the ship are the sounds of distant knocks and doors slamming and high-pitched squeals and drastic temperature changes, the aromas of smells from the long past, and all of those things combined will lead you to very eerie feelings and Some claim to have had conversations with these spirits, asking questions and leaving them with the option of knock once for yes, knock more for no, and having full-on conversations and recording them. These are few of the many, many reports of seeing actual figures and strange noises and just unexplainable chills, and so many people having terrifying experiences. But arguably the most notorious location on the ship for paranormal activity is Stateroom B340. Its paranormal occurrences stem from the horror events, and let me tell you, they're pretty rough. Featured on Sci-Fi Channel's Ghost Hunters and British TV series Most Haunted, Room B340 offers thrill seekers and scare enthusiasts to the unique opportunity to spend the night in the alleged paranormal activity room at the Queen Mary. Stateroom B340 has a large volume of recorded paranormal activity with many stories of haunted encounters noted in the ship's logs. Reported date back to the final ocean voyage in 1967. There was complaints from guests saying that B340, there was someone knocking at the door in the middle of the night. And other complaints include bathroom lights turning on by themselves, the sink faucet turning on and off on its own, the unexplained bathroom doors shutting. Some guests have reported the covers of their bed being pulled off while asleep and waking to see a dark figure standing at the foot of the bed. Another one has seen a man's figure sitting in the chair across the room while they were in bed. Voyage years, the space actually was 3 third-class staterooms and has since been remodeled to become one large guest room suite. A perfect blend of authentic style and modern furniture, although you still get the olden day vibes when you stay in it. B340 is larger than the average cruise ship cabin, featuring operable portholes and offering all the modern conveniences of the contemporary hotel. The famously haunted stateroom offers a true ocean liner experience. In addition to the remodel of this room, B340, there is a chest with unique items available for guests to amplify their overnight haunt experience, including a Ouija board, tarot cards, and a crystal ball. Cabin reservations for B340 are available starting at $499 per night. Now, a lot of people seem to think that this stemmed from rumors that we will definitely get into. They think that these rumors caused this to be infamously known as being haunted, and that the ship has ran with it ever since as a cash grab. But others who have stayed there have denied this and said this room is creepy as hell. Apparently back in the 60s, during one of the final transatlantic cruises before the ship was docked in Long Beach, a man went crazy. He brutally murdered 2 women. His crimes were discovered and he was locked in his third-class stateroom, either B222 or B224 or B226, which is now B340 combined. The door was locked and a guard was posted outside. A little while later, he started pounding on the door saying someone was in there with him trying to kill him. The guard ignored him, thinking it was a way for him to escape, and after a while the passenger quieted down and the guard just said, "I think he went to sleep." The next day, however, the ship arrived in New York. The crew summoned NYPD detectives and they went to apprehend the murderer. When they opened the door to the stateroom, they found the man had been ripped apart and his entrails and limbs spread all over the room. There was no way he could have done this to himself. Upon the next sailing, the paranormal reports stated coming in from the stateroom. When it was docked in Long Beach in 1967, the 3 third-class staterooms were combined into the larger guest room, which is now B340, and the reports continued to roll in. By the 1980s, B340 was closed to booking because guests would just up and leave in the middle of the night, and it became such a fuss and mess that they didn't want to mess with it anymore, that they closed it off completely. Over the years, there's been a lot of the variations of a story of a man who killed his family in the cabin, a woman killed her husband, husband killed his wife, a lone passenger's throat was cut. The list, it honestly does go on and on. Seen so many different stories about this room, but nobody can actually like trace back to exactly what happened, and the ship records show nothing actually happened in any of those rooms. So, is it a crash grab? I like to think not. I want to keep the thought of it being spooky in my head. But according to Nicole Strickland in her book Spirited Queen Mary, which I definitely need to pick up and read, let me know if you guys have checked this out. Am I missing anything? Do I need to add something to the blog today from this book? Let me know. I definitely will check this book out though. But the legend of B340 was invented in the late 80s or early 90s by employees of Walt Disney Company, which owned the hotel at the time. A few cast members wanted to scare guests who were asking about one of the yet unfinished rooms that was unavailable for bookings due to construction. And so the legend was born. So was the rooms just being, demolished and then under construction, combining three into one, and it just was unavailable, and somebody said, oh, I heard it was haunted, and then they ran with it and it became a cash grab? I don't know. You tell me. Allegedly, this is what Nicole Strickland thinks. If the tales are true, though, it is thought that the energy would charge the room to cause manifestation of these spirits, and it is now haunted because it's been manifested, because reports have shown that all of these things adding up, covers being pulled off, clothes hangers rattling, footsteps to be heard, knocks over and over again. And for the first time in the 80s, the room was finally open for check-ins and could still barely hold anyone because everyone ran out terrified. There has to be some type of haunting going on there. In the first week of the room being open, there was 40 bookings. It has been entirely redone and open to guests as of Friday, the 13th of April. Spooky again. And aside from it being haunted, it is just a beautifully redone room. The space was warm and comforting. Modern furniture, classic elegance. It's hard to imagine being scared in that room because it is so nice. But to enhance the scary, spooky features with the Ouija board, the tarot cards, the ghost hunting equipment, electric candles, the walls are also covered in pictures of ghost stories from guest encounters. And in the bathroom, there is actually a summoning Bloody Mary that's printed on the wall. Between the hairdryer and the individually wrapped small soaps. So you can go to the bathroom and do your little Bloody Mary. I am going to try to read off some of the ghost stories that have been told by the guests who have stayed in this room, B340. These are written on the walls in the actual room for guests to read. Says, my family and I were up on the bridge looking around, and I wandered off by myself into the chart room. There was only one other guest besides myself in the room, and he left right after I entered. As I was looking at the chart on the wall where they would lay out the maps trying to find the Queen Mary, I felt someone tug on the back of my shirt, just above my left shoulder. When I turned to see if it was one of my family members, I felt a chill and realized that there was no one else in the chart room. I left the room immediately. This was the first time anything like this had ever happened to me. These are all stories that took place in this room. Another one says, out of the corner of my eye, I saw a person walking by, so I turned to look. It was a lady in a powdered blue dress. She was solid, but unfocused and hazy. She never looked at either of us. Then suddenly she walked behind a thin pole, which we had a clear view of, and just disappeared. Another. I was doing my rounds of the ship when I noticed that a normally secure room was unlocked. I looked inside and saw a little girl standing in the room. She looked at me, stretched her arms out towards me, and then disappeared from the room. It is pretty spooky, and there has been so many more sites, and like I said, you can look up YouTubers who have went, and you can see how they feel about it. Some don't notice anything at all besides a few knocks here and there, maybe some noises that they catch when they're editing their video and not when they're actually there, which is pretty strange. Floating orbs, and some of them are beyond freaked out that they up and leave and can't even stay all night as well. It's pretty intense. Queen Mary has been called one of the top 10 most haunted places on Earth by Time magazine and is pleased to announce that the haunted stateroom B340 once again opened for overnight guests because after opening in the 80s, after the remodel, it shut down completely, and then just about a year, maybe two ago, they reopened it. And I have to say, it was kind of fishy that it was around Halloween time when they reopened it, but it was for a very limited time span. It was like 2 months. I can't say if they are currently like going to be open again to have B340 open to guests or anything. Today, the Queen Mary, listed on the National Register of Historic Places, provides not only a wide range of guest rooms for travelers, but also 14 Art Deco salons, tours, restaurants, shops, and exhibits. And another thing I want to mention that I didn't see like hardly in any articles, but that I have seen in YouTube videos where they've taken like the night tour where you get to go down in the engine room and you get to go other places and you actually get to hear the staff people talk about their experience, is that I've heard that there's actually many more deaths than just from World War II. There was actually deaths from sicknesses, illnesses, that type of ordeal, because there was a hospital wing. So people actually died in the hospital wing as well, and it's supposed to be really, really haunted as well. And you can hear tons of people walking, like there's a lot of noises of people walking by when nobody is moving, or if you're down there by yourself, you hear a lot of movement going on when you're by yourself. It's really spooky. I think it's actually locked off from people. The only time you get to go into like that hospital wing and stuff is when you were on the tour, is what I believe. But even the decks are supposed to be super creepy. The different decks outside on the ship, people have seen figures, heard kids laughing, running, yeah, all kinds of really spooky shit. But since her retirement from the sea as an active liner in 1967, the Queen Mary has never been more popular as an iconic Southern California attraction, hotel, and venue for special events. She is now a floating hotel, attraction and events, and also a wedding venue. Tons of people like to get married here. You can definitely have like a spooky wedding, but I can definitely see the vibes with that of having like a very elegant, even like old-timey wedding there, because it seems so creepy. But honestly, if you look at it as like an old soul and just like the vibes are so there, I want to go so fucking bad I cannot even explain it. The ship has carried somewhere around 2.2 million passengers in her days of actually transportation, 810,000 military personnel in the Second World War, but in Long Beach, an estimated 50 million people have visited. The day the ship was launched in 1934, a well-known English psychic, Lady Mabel Forsky, I don't know how to say that. Fortisk Harrison, I'm going to say Mabel Harrison, predicted, she quoted, "The Queen Mary will know her greatest fame and popularity when she never sells another mile or carries another fare-paying passenger." Wow. That's insane, because it's such a legend ship now. And there's actually a full documentary. If you guys are into that, if you are like history buffs or anything and you kind of want to look into it, I don't watch too much history, but I found this so cool. I loved it. So old-timey. It is in black and white. You kind of have to get over that. I personally love black and white things. But it's over on Titanic and Historical Films by Mark on YouTube. I will have it linked in the description of this podcast as well for you guys. But I really enjoyed watching it. You don't have a lot of the info on like spooky things, but it still is really cool to see footage from back then and footage of the Queen Mary. I mean, in all of her glory and even her last sail. I just think it's really awesome. But there's more of the history behind the Great Depression, why the construction was stalled on her, and all that kind of stuff there as well. But I am going to go ahead and wrap this up. Let me know what you guys think. Would you consider staying at the Queen Mary or even room B340? I definitely would love to. I have kids, so I'm one of those people where I'm too freaked out to have my kids there too, because if something was to happen, I wouldn't want my kids to be involved. Maybe when they're like teenagers, I think that would be like so cool to be able to take them to and do spooky things with them, but I feel like I'm going to really have to try to talk my husband into us getting away at some point, if my mom heart can handle it, to get away from my kids and to go stay together, because I love spooky shit like this, obviously. I would love to stay there, but if you guys have stayed and you have any experiences, please send them in to me. The Instagram is at Caffeine Crime Podcast. You can just message me them, and I would love to add them to the blog today. That's linked down below for anybody who's listening, so they can go check it out and see your story as well. But thank you guys so much. I hope you guys enjoy. This is the kickstart of season 4, but it's also the kickstart of spooky season. I hope you guys enjoy. I have put so much love and passion into this season, and I'm so excited to share every episode with you guys. I don't think I've ever been more excited about a season than this one, so I'm going to be hyped in just about every episode. But thank you guys if you took the time to listen today. I hope you guys are excited and pumped for this season as much as I am. And I will see you guys next week with another spooky, haunted place for spooky season.
I'm happy and gay 'cause I'm sailing away. I booked my trip for the USA on the finest ship in the world, the Queen Mary. How'd you like to come with me? The ship is